Aberdeen International Airport is an international airport, located at Dyce, a suburb of Aberdeen, Scotland, approximately 5 nautical miles northwest of Aberdeen city centre. A total of over 3.7 million passengers used the airport in 2014, an increase of 8.2% compared with 2013 and a record annual total for the airport. The airport is owned and operated by AGS Airports, which also owns and operates Glasgow and Southampton Airports. It was previously owned and operated by Heathrow Airport Holdings. Aberdeen Airport is a base for BMI Regional, Eastern Airways and Flybe. The airport also serves as the main heliport for the Scottish offshore oil industry. With the utilisation of newer aircraft, helicopters can reach northernmost platforms on both the east and west of Shetland areas. However, helicopters frequently use Wick, Kirkwall, Scatster and Sumburg for refuelling stops. The airport has one main passenger terminal, serving scheduled and charter holiday flights. In addition, there are 3 terminals dedicated to North Sea helicopter operations, used by Bristow Helicopters, CHC Scotia, and Bond Offshore Helicopters. There is also a small terminal adjacent to the main passenger terminal, Broomfield House, used primarily for oil company charter flights to Scatster in Shetland, operated by Eastern Airways. History: the airport opened in 1934, established by Eric Gandadauer, intended to link the northern islands of Scotland with London. During Second World War the airfield became a Royal Air Force station, a RAF Dyce. It was the site of the Dyce Sector Operations Room within No. 13 Group RAF. Although fighters were there throughout the Battle of Britain to provide protection from German bombing raids from occupied Norway, it was mainly used as a photographic reconnaissance station. Anti-shipping operations by Coastal Command were carried out from RAF Dyce as well as convoy escort. The airfield was bombed by the Luftwaffe on 26 July 1940 and 27 August 1940, no damage was reported. A decoy site was located at Hurstone Moss near White Cairns. The aim of the site was to create the impression of an active airfield during the night. The decoy worked on around 4 occasions, where several raids resulted in bombs being dropped on the decoy site. The decoy site had a small underground bunker that housed a generator. This was used to power a decoy flare path in addition to a rotating lamp to give the impression of a taxiing aircraft. Near the airport off the A96, to deter German gliders landing to attack RAF Dyce during WW2, the flat areas across from Concraig Farm had wooden poles erected as anti-glider landing poles. A Spitfire crashed at the east side of the airfield on November 19, 1941 during attack practice with the target glider being towed. FO Zorel is buried in the old Dyce graveyard, where some German aircrew were also buried that crashed in Aberdeen in 1940. A significant wartime event occurred in May 1943 when a German, Junkers Ju-88 fighter bomber landed here. It was flown to Scotland by its crew, who wanted to defect to the Allied side. The surrender of this aircraft was of great intelligence value at the time, as it was fitted with the latest FUG 202 Liechtenstein BCAI radar. The aircraft survives and is displayed in the RAF Museum in London. On August 17, 1943, a Mosquito crashed following a stall in the circuit, crashing onto 5 John Street in Dyce Village. Another Mosquito on April 10, 1944 crashed on approach to the airfield. On December 26, 1944, a Messerschmitt Bf 109G signaling intentions to surrender crash-landed at the airfield. On May 16, 1945, 2 pilots were killed when a Wellington bomber crashed on landing, wrecking a goods train in Dyce station. During air raids in the Second World War, aircraft were moved to East Thinghask beside Old Mottram. One RAF building still remains at East Thinghask, where air crews waiting for the all clear before returning to Dyce Airfield. Virtually nothing remains from the war era at the airport due to expansion and development of the industrial estates around it. The original airport terminal was located at the east side where the Airport Social Club and Bond Offshore Helicopters are located. A new terminal was built along with a new control tower to handle the increase in air traffic. The airport was nationalised in 1947 and was transferred to the control of the British Airports Authority in 1975. From 1967 and 1970 there were regular flights to Moscow and Toronto. These were later stopped due to cost-related problems. With the discovery of North Sea oil, helicopter operations began in 1967, linking the growing number of oil rigs to the mainland. As Aberdeen became the largest oil-related centre in Europe, the airport became the world's largest commercial heliport. Today, Aberdeen Airport handles more than 37,000 rotary wing movements carrying around 468,000 passengers annually. Helicopters account for almost half of all aircraft movements at the airport. Until March 2005, aircraft were not allowed to take off or land between 22:30 and 6 o'clock local time due to noise constraints. The City Council overturned this ban, however, despite some Dyce residents' objections, and the airport is now open 24 hours a day to fixed-wing aircraft with a quota count of QC4 or below, and the overnight restrictions still apply to helicopters. General aviation flight training for private pilots' licenses takes place from the east side of the airport by Cabro Aviation and located in Signature Flight Support. Signature Flight Support also manages the VIP flights and corporate jets that park on the east apron. The air ambulance is positioned on the east apron in a dedicated hangar. Garmo Aviation operates King Air aircraft from Aberdeen. Aberdeen, being a major city in the oil industry, has a number of oil company charter flights. These have included flights to South America and also Korea. Flights from the USA are regular visitors and a military flight from Afghanistan has also landed. On October 6, 2011, a 124-meter extension to the main runway at the airport was opened, almost 8 months ahead of schedule. On January 8, 2013, the airport was renamed Aberdeen International. In October 2014, Heathrow Airport Holdings reached an agreement to sell the airport, together with Southampton and Glasgow, to a consortium of Ferrovial and Macquarie Group for £1 billion. The airport handles around 500,000 passengers per year by helicopter for the North Sea oil fields, making it the world's busiest heliport. Plans BAA expects to spend £60 million on extending the runway further still to allow bigger, more modern aircraft to fly from Aberdeen to destinations across the Mediterranean, North Africa and North America, as well as building a bigger, better-equipped terminal and new parking stands for aircraft. During the construction phase of the runway extension and taxiway, the airport's military past has been revealed. To date 2 pieces of WW2 ordnance have been unearthed. The reason for this is the taxiway extension route runs straight through the old bomb dump. BAA predicts passenger numbers at Aberdeen will rise to 5.9 million by 2030, and says the expansion will create more than 1,200 jobs at the airport and many more across Scotland. Refurbishment work will see the installation of a segregated walkway for passengers, as well as significant enhancements to the International Arrivals Hall and improvements to jet parking stands. The first phase of the work will be completed early next year, with all upgrades conforming to UK visas and immigration requirements. Phases 2 and 3 will then involve additions to the International Arrivals Hall, centering on improving its passport control and baggage reclaim facilities as well as increasing floor space. A separate £2 million project to transform the terminal forecourt at Aberdeen Airport got underway in July 2008 and was completed that autumn. The former Airport Social Club building has been renovated by Bond Offshore Helicopters and this will be for future passenger use. Airlines and destinations. Passenger cargo Traffic statistics. Busiest routes Facilities. There is a Thistle Hotel, Premier Inn, Courtyard by Marriott and Speedbird Inn on the airport site. On January 10, 2013 it was also announced that ACA Group will be bringing 2 new hotels to the airport, a 194-bedroom Novotel Hotel and the other a 112-bedroom Ibis Hotel. At least 1 more hotel is planned for the adjacent Aberdeen International Business Park starting in 2016. BMI Regional has its head office in Aberdeen Airport East. For flight training, Eurocopter and Bristow Helicopters both have helicopter flight simulators in buildings at the airport. Cabro Aviation also operate GA flight training at the east of Aberdeen Airport. Incidents and accidents. On March 3, 2009, 7 protesters from Plain Stupid occupied a taxiway at Aberdeen Airport, barricading themselves within a makeshift wire enclosure while 2 further protesters occupied the roof of the main terminal building. Their actions were in protest at the proposed extension to the airport runway, and Donald Trump's plan to create a golf resort in the area. After a number of hours, the group eventually ended their protest, and were arrested by police. On June 22, 2006, a City Star Airlines Dornier 328 operating a passenger flight from Stavanger, Norway, overshot the end of the airport's runway by several hundred yards as it came into land. None of the 16 passengers and 3 crew members on board were injured. On December 24, 2002, a Swearingen Metroliner 3 of Danish operator North Flying crashed after takeoff from Aberdeen on a positioning flight to Aalborg in Denmark. Immediately after takeoff, the aircraft was suspected to have suffered a major power loss in its right engine and crashed into a field just to the south of the airport. It slid along the field and through a fence onto Dyce Drive, a main road into the airport, where it hit a moving car and then came to rest. The 2 crew and driver of the car survived the accident, with only 1 crew member sustaining minor injuries. On July 4, 1983, Bristow Helicopters AS-332L Super Puma crashed on landing at Aberdeen. During the approach to Aberdeen from the North Hutton platform, a loud bang was heard, followed by severe vibration. A PAN call was made to ATC by the crew. Shortly before landing, control was lost and the helicopter struck the runway heavily on its side. 10 of 16 passengers received serious injuries. A tail boom panel had become detached in flight and damaged all 5 tail rotor blades. The resulting imbalance to the tail rotor assembly led to the separation of this unit and subsequent loss. On May 22, 1978, a British European Airways Trident aircraft overshot the runway, ending up 200 feet into the grass at the northern end of runway 34 due to wet weather. All 120 passengers survived with no injuries. Transport. Rail. The airport is linked nearby Dyce railway station by the 80 Dyce Airlink shuttle bus, which runs between the station, airport, heliport and Kirkhill Industrial Estate every 20 minutes between 6:45 and 19:00. Journey time between the airport and station is 15 minutes. Following an increase in the frequency of train services to Dyce station, Abellio SkyTrail now provides an almost half-hourly service to and from Aberdeen during the day. Additionally, many more trains from the south have now been extended to stop at Dyce, giving the station direct links to Dundee, Edinburgh, Glasgow and intermediate stations, as well as stations northwards on the line to Inverness. Bus. Aberdeen Airport is served by local and express bus services operated by First Aberdeen and Stagecoach East Scotland. There is a dedicated number 727 bus service up to every 10 minutes to the main bus and rail station in central Aberdeen. Chartered buses can also be booked with local operators. Road. The airport lies on the main A96 Aberdeen to Inverness Road, being only a few kilometres from the city centre itself. References. External links. Media related to Aberdeen Airport at Wikimedia Commons. Official website, photo of East Terminal 1970s, photo of Old Control Tower and RAF buildings 1970s, photo of airport 1980s with new terminal and control tower, RAF Dyce decoy airfield at Hurstone Moss with bunker, bomb craters and flare path direction shown, current weather for EGPD at NOAA NWS, accident history for ABZ at Aviation Safety Network.